What's up, everybody? Welcome to our video on shipping to South America, the costs, the questions, the methods, why didn't you just drive, things like that.
You guys have been following along with our series. We've spent the last few months in Central America, and we are finally in South America now. We made it to Colombia.
So we got a ton of questions asking us, I think the #1 question is, why didn't you drive to South America? I myself thought that it would be easy to just drive from North America to South America. If you look on a map, they're connected by land. It's 2019. Why wouldn't there be a road by now? There is not a road. The road ends in Panama and it begins again in Colombia, and there's an area known as the Darien Gap. It's the Darien jungle. It's one of the thickest, densest, most dangerous, forbidden jungles of the world.
You can actually walk through it. There's no infrastructure, there's no security.
So basically, you cannot drive. You have to ship.
And actually, up until a couple years ago, you could ship really easily from Panama to Colombia on a passenger ferry.
So now, since there's not the option of taking a ferry, you have to ship your van, like you're shipping cargo or a freight item. And then you fly, or maybe you could walk through the jungle if you want, you fly to the other side of the Darien Gap and pick up your vehicle.
There's 3 different options for how you can ship. One is called roll-on, roll-off, one is flat rack, and one is in a shipping container. There are pros and cons to each of those 3, and today we just wanted to address some of the misconceptions and some of the reasons why we chose to ship the way we did. It's actually not that difficult. It's a hugely complicated, convoluted process, but if you're thinking about traveling in your van or vehicle to South America, do it. It's worth it, and it sounds scarier than it actually is.
Really, the hardest thing is having patience. It just takes a lot of patience, and when you want immediate satisfaction and immediate results and immediate decisions, you're just not gonna get them. So you just have to be willing to be patient. That's really the hardest part. So roll on, roll off is basically a ferry. You basically drive your vehicle to the port, you drop it off with the shipping company, and you say, here's my keys. That scared me. I don't like that idea. I don't want somebody else driving my vehicle. I don't want somebody else having access to my vehicle. Basically, they just leave the keys in the ignition and the doors are unlocked. There's tons and tons of horror stories of people having things stolen. I mean, this is so common that there's companies that help you build barricades around the driver's seat so that people only have access to the driver's seat when you do roll on, roll off. Now, it is easier, I would say, because you just basically drive up and give them your keys. But there's a lot of liability. It was gonna cost us a lot more money, and we could only do it on 1 day of the month, which just presented a problem for us.
If it's just your vehicle, your everyday driver, it's maybe not a big deal. Wait, I need a tissue really bad. Can you give me a tissue? Now, if you're just shipping like an overlanding rig that you bought just for a trip or just like an everyday driver, it's not a big deal. But for us, this is our home. It has all of our worldly possessions in it. We just didn't want to take that risk.
Just to give a disclaimer, we have had multiple friends that did roll on, roll off recently, didn't have anything stolen or only had 1 or 2 things stolen, and everything worked out for them. So it's not all horror stories, but we just decided to go with a container because it was more secure. So one of the other options that's kind of in between roll on, roll off and shipping in a container is a flat rack, which is basically just the bottom of a container. It's a container that doesn't have walls and doesn't have a roof. You get to drive the vehicle on, they secure it, you lock it up, nobody has to drive it. It's kind of like a container, but it's also more expensive than a container, and your vehicle's still kind of out in the open. People could steal things off of it if they wanted to. We had our hearts set on fitting this van into a container where we could lock it up like our own little personal safe, and we knew that when it got to Colombia, we could open it up, nobody had been inside, and it ended up being the cheapest option for us.
I think the real reason is Trent loves to give me a heart attack, and he knew that it was going to be really difficult to fit into a shipping container and just wanted to watch me freak out during that whole process, which I did, so it all worked out. But now that we've made it to Colombia, I think we can safely say a ProMaster does fit in a shipping container.
And our ProMaster is not just any ProMaster. Our ProMaster is the 159-inch wheelbase that's extended, so it's the longest ProMaster they make, and we have a 3-inch lift, so it's taller than any ProMaster they make.
We did have to make a couple modifications to make sure that we fit those. So we ended up letting out most of the air in our tires so that we were a little bit closer to the ground. We took off our roof vent fan to just save us like 5 or 6 inches of space up top, and we also removed the side mirrors.
We have like the enormous, massive folding semi mirrors. Some ProMasters have them, some don't. Ours had the massive ones. They stick out too far, so we had to remove those. I think if you have the smaller mirrors, you're probably good. Anyway,
it wasn't
we
hard.
took off the mirrors, we took off the roof vent, fit no problem.
So we should probably mention though that there are 2 sizes of shipping containers you can choose to use. And ours was obviously the bigger one.
There's a regular container and then there's a high cube container. The high cube container was perfect for our van. Regular container, obviously it wouldn't have worked.
But enough about logistics and details and options. Let's dive into the question everyone has been asking us. What does it cost? A lot.
It's pretty expensive, but honestly, it's the only option to get your vehicle from Colombia to Panama or Panama to Colombia. So really you have no choice, and we picked the cheapest option, and we're gonna break it down and explain to you guys all the different fees, where they come from, and how much the grand total was.
Okay, so you have an option on both sides to use an agent. An agent is an amazing idea for the side you're starting out on. When you get to your destination, if you have a couple days of patience and waiting around time, you can get away without having an agent. But the agent we used in Panama was very helpful. He made it really easy for us. He basically told us what documents we needed, where to be and when. He met us at the shipyard and did all the paperwork for us at customs.
Yeah, it was a huge help. We had to load the van onto a tow truck, load it into the container, then have someone drive the container to the port. Trying to arrange that on your own would be extremely difficult. So it's very nice to have an agent to set everything up.
We used an agent that worked directly with a shipping company, so his fee was just rolled into the price of shipping with his company. So to ship with Evergreen Shipping, which is the company we used, was $1,400 on the Panama side.
Now the Panama side, if you're doing any research on how much it costs to ship across the Darien Gap, you're gonna run into these answers, which is like, oh, on the Panama side, oh, on the Colombian side, and it's like, well, which side did you pay on? And it's like, you pay on both. Basically, you load your vehicle into the container, you pay to ship it to Colombia, which was $1,400.
So once we got to Colombia, we had to go to the shipping company, Evergreen, and then pay another bill to make, why? I don't know why.
I don't know why either. I don't know why, but when we got there, we had to pay another like $240 for me and Allie.
So the third and final fee was to the port in Cartagena, Colombia, where we picked up our van, and that was $458. So you should really only be paying one big fee up front as you ship, another fee once you arrive in your destination to collect the vehicle from your shipping company, and then the third fee is from the port once you actually go and get your vehicle out of your container.
So those 3 bills added up, shipping from Panama, paying the shipping company in Colombia, and then paying the port, comes to $2,098. $2,048? Oh, 58, 98.
It was $1,400 plus
2,098.
plus what? 360.
240.
240 plus 458. 2,098. Good mental math.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Anyway, $2,098.
Never mind.
$2,098 is how much we paid to get our van from Panama to Colombia. So I know that there's a lot of people that were kind of getting a little bit of misinformation, thinking that it was going to be like $5,000 or $10,000 to ship to South America and ship back.
It's not.
No, maybe $4,000 to do both ways. So really the biggest thing that you need to know of shipping from Panama to Colombia or Colombia to Panama is that, one, it is incredibly helpful to speak Spanish. But also, like I said earlier, patience, patience, patience.
For sure.
If you saw our previous video, it took us 3 days to get our van out of the port. It was off the ship,
Yeah.
just sitting in the port. The container was there. It took us 3 days to do it. This is because a lot of the process is very contrived, but if you just have some patience, you're gonna get through. It's gonna be totally fine. And you'll have your vehicle in South America. You'll be super excited.
The main reason it's really complicated in Colombia is because to avoid corruption, you have to pay every bill at a bank. So we'd go to an office, we'd get a bill, then we'd have to go to a bank, pay that bill, bring the receipt back to that office, get signed off before we could go to the next step in the process. So
And none of the banks are by any of the offices.
No,
So you're,
that would be
running
way
around
too easy.
town, and everybody closes between noon and 2 p.m. for a siesta. So it's basically, it's just impossible to do it in a day.
yeah.
We almost did it in 2 days, but we had to do it in 3 days. If you haven't seen our video of,
Yeah.
running around for 3 days doing all that, we'll link it up here. But I think that's probably gonna do it for today. Hopefully you guys got all of your questions answered about shipping from Panama to Colombia via container, how much it costs, all the details. If you have any other questions, don't be afraid to leave them in the comments and we'll try to get back to you and hopefully answer them for you. If you guys haven't subscribed to our channel, please consider doing so. As you're probably noticing from this video, we just made it to South America. We're about to start exploring. So make sure you subscribe, like this video if you guys found it informational or you appreciated it.
And we'll talk to you soon, guys. Thanks so much.
See you on the next one.
Bye.